Tonight, sizzling through day 3 of an early summer heat wave.
We don't have it long enough, so bring it on.
How to spot signs of heat-related trouble.
The big one is loss of consciousness or increased confusion would be an immediate sign that you're going into heat stroke and need to call 911.
As the temperature continues to rise. Plus, suspects on the run after another brazen smash-and-grab robbery.
With a crime like this, there's violence being used, weapons being used, the psychological impact not only for the employees but for the other individuals, pedestrians using the mall and within the city.
The Stratford-based jewelry store struck for the 3rd time in 18 months. And set your taste buds on a Haskap.
This one here is the beauty.
Beauties.
And these are the beast.
A Paris farm is offering the berry, but it won't be around long.
We're looking at more like a 2-week-ish window.
Good evening. After another day of sweltering hot weather in Waterloo region under a heat wave that just won't quit. We're reaching record-breaking temperatures, the likes of which we haven't seen in more than a decade. Tonight, region paramedics are warning residents about the dangers of heat stroke. Let's turn to CTV's Heather Centerin now, who is in a park in Kitchener. And Heather, the University of Waterloo weather station says yesterday's high of 35 was one of the hottest days in a very long time.
They say it's the highest temperature they've recorded in their history of keeping track, which has been since 1998. The only times it was hotter was in the summer of 2011 and 2001. And even in this heat, there was still a lot of people out and about enjoying the weather. But paramedics say you have to be careful about how much time you spend outside.
We'll run one more time.
This Kitchener mom says her 3-year-old is in his happy place.
He loves the water. Yeah, loves it. He could spend all day here.
The love for summer runs in the family.
I love it. I'm for the heat. We don't have it long enough, so bring it on.
Mother Nature bringing on the heat and humidity for several days in a row. But a summer scorcher can also be dangerous, according to Region of Waterloo paramedics.
In the past few days, we have had quite a few heat-related calls.
Those calls ranging from heat exhaustion or even worse, heat stroke.
Heat stroke is when the body is no longer able to control its own temperature.
Heat stroke is considered a life-threatening illness.
The big one is loss of consciousness or increased confusion would be an immediate sign that you're going into heat stroke and need to call 911 or seek medical attention.
There are groups of people who should be extra cautious.
So younger individuals, people experiencing chronic illness, we've got the elderly are all more susceptible to heat exhaustion or heat stroke.
If you must be outdoors, paramedics say be prepared.
Trying to make sure that you limit your exposure to the heat, that you seek shelter frequently, take frequent breaks, and replace your fluids and electrolytes.
Back at the splash pad, many are looking at the bright side.
There's lots of sun outside and it's not snowing.
A sign the summer is off to a strong start.
Heat exhaustion is a little less serious than heat stroke, but it is very common. Paramedics say that's when you might start to feel a little dizzy, a little lightheaded. You might start excessively sweating, and they do say you might still need to seek first aid. Ashley.
CTV's Heather Centerin braving the heat for us tonight out in Kitchener. Thank you, Heather. All right, well, it's time now for our first check on weather. And of course, we're in our nice and cool studio, Alexandra.
We are, yeah, nice and cool. Definitely taking a little bit of a break from that heat, especially if you did have a chance to spend some time outdoors. It was a hot one, still is a hot one out there. And before we break down, though, when it comes to beating the heat, some kids had a pretty fun way of doing it yesterday. Check it out. Yeah, this is definitely one way to cool off. The St. Thomas Fire Department spending some time helping these kids cool off at a local park yesterday. Seemed like a popular spot to be. And if you take a look at that a little bit closer, you can even spot a little rainbow there. So yeah, definitely one way to beat the heat. I think, well, we'll have to see. Maybe they did it again today because it was still hot it was still quite humid, and that heat warning still in place with us right across southern Ontario at this point, but some relief is in sight. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Current conditions right now, 31 degrees here in Kitchener-Waterloo, slightly cooler if you are by the water, 22 in Wyerton, 24 in Goderich, but still that humidity, that humidex is really still a big talk about. We were feeling closer to 40 in the last hour. Now at about 39 it feels closer to. Feels more like 36, but take a look at the city of Toronto. Feels like 42 there. So still hot, still humid, but a little bit of relief is going to be in sight with a little bit of active weather on the way. So we'll break it all down for you coming up a little bit later. Ashley.
Wow, Alex, certainly those kids look like they were having a lot of fun out in St. Thomas. Kudos to the firefighters
Definitely.
for that.
I know. Pretty nice of them to do that, right? I think they all needed that.
Very cool. Thank you for that, and looking forward to your full cast a little later in the show.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, for the third time in less than 18 months, a jewelry store at a Stratford mall has been robbed. On Sunday afternoon, 4 suspects with hammers smashed the display cases, snatched jewelry, and sped away in a stolen car. CTV's Jeff Pickle has the details.
It's a shocking but increasingly familiar sight.
You see stuff like this at huge stores, but at cities, but for Stratford, I was surprised at the very first one.
Mass thieves smashing and grabbing at a mall jewelry store.
The Stratford police started to receive multiple 911 calls regarding a robbery in progress at the Paris Jewelers located at the Stratford Mall.
Witnesses on scene taking these images, including the car reported stolen from Peel Region earlier that day.
The 4 suspects fled from the mall in a vehicle, which was located by police and pursued out of the city of Stratford. The pursuit was terminated due to public safety.
Stratford police say Waterloo Region police also spotted the vehicle but had to abandon their pursuit.
Obviously, there's a huge safety risk factor with a crime like this. There's violence being used, weapons being used. The psychological impact, not only for the employees, but for the other individuals, pedestrians using the mall.
The robbery this Sunday, the third smash and grab at this store in the last year and a half. This video taken during a robbery in January of last year.
So they're picking spots that are easy to get to and easy to get away from.
Former OPP Commissioner Chris Lewis says the store location in the mall and the mall's proximity to the highway are likely contributing factors.
Scouting these things out. They don't want to go out right into the middle of a mall running around, their faces covered, carrying baseball bats or hammers or whatever they're using.
Arrests have been made in one of the previous robberies. According to Lewis, police will need to make more arrests to deter others.
There's been arrests made. And so who knows the impact that will have inevitably in the future of these, and that some will tell on each other and some will be inspired to not do it anymore, but time will tell.
No one injured in the latest robbery, and police did not say how much jewelry was stolen. Anyone with information is asked to contact Stratford Police. Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Stratford.
As we turn back to the heat, thousands of people are flocking to beaches to enjoy the sun, sand, and water. However, just 2 days after multiple drownings on Lake Erie, experts are pushing to educate swimmers about the dangers that the Great Lakes pose. CTV's Brett Lale reports.
Lake Erie waves crashed to the shore in Port Burwell. It was here where a father lost his life Sunday after being pulled under.
My entire life, I've always been told undertow was a concern, and we're finding now that rip currents are more of a concern.
Lifeguard Nate McIntyre was in Port Burwell in the hours after the drowning. He estimates it was a rip current that took the life of Randy Levine.
A rip current being, again, like a focused current of water that's pulling swimmers far offshore and far away from shore into deeper water, where they're left in deeper water. Often people struggle, they want to swim right back to shore immediately, where they know it's safe, and they're swimming against the current.
The city of Windsor closed Sandpoint Beach due to strong currents, and McIntyre believes it's past the point where the public needs education and clarification of terminology.
Preliminary evidence suggests that the public has limited knowledge.
This morning, he made a delegation to Elgin County Council about the Rip Current Information Project.
I tried to establish the campaign here in Elgin County, and it had a really great support from all of the councillors and the warden and the deputy warden as far as amplifying the message and getting the word out to the public this year.
The Life Saving Society estimates that for every fatal drowning, there are 4 to 5 non-fatal drownings, and those are only the ones that are reported. The Elgin County Drowning Prevention Coalition has been collaborating with McIntyre.
Whether you're coming to visit the beach for the day, how can you best learn the conditions, how to protect yourself, but also how can we collaborate with local community services? So for example, the RIP Current Information Project did a great presentation to some of the fire departments, educating them about the dangers, about the science, and that's been something that's been really incredible to kind of join this collective knowledge together of like, how can we understand it, all collaborate towards the same goal of having to reduce and prevent drownings.
Later this summer, Nate will paddle from Port Stanley to Port Burwell. The 35-kilometer challenge hopes to raise further awareness about Great Lake rip currents. Brent Leo, CTV News.
Turning now to world news, and the President of the United States says the Israel-Iran ceasefire he arranged is back in effect. After a shaky start, the truce seems to be holding after a furious Donald Trump lashed out at both countries. CTV's Joy Melvin reports.
After brokering a fragile ceasefire, the U.S. president visibly angry and let the F word fly.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Sending a message to warring nations, Israel and Iran, to knock it off.
I think they both violated it. I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it.
After agreeing to Donald Trump's ceasefire overnight, the Israeli army struck hard at Iranian government targets, including a radar site north of Tehran. And Israel says it struck back too, after Iranian missiles had been fired in the south, killing 4 Israelis. The president trying to hold this truce together, telling reporters he was firm, demanding Israel's prime minister bring back its planes and stop the bombing.
Tired of it. I think they don't want it to happen again. And Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon, by the way. I think it's the last thing on their mind right now.
After the U.S. bombed 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities deep underground and days of Israeli strikes on nuclear targets, Iran has been weakened. But how far has Tehran nuclear ambitions been set back?
Is there any highly enriched uranium left? And are there any of these centrifuges left as well? That's a big question.
And an early U.S. intelligence report suggests that America's bunker-busting bombs may not have destroyed Iran's nuclear sites. This is at odds with the president, who insists they were completely obliterated. Joy Melvin, CTV News, Washington.
Prime Minister Mark Carney, meanwhile, arrived in the Netherlands today ahead of the NATO Leaders Summit, where the conflict in the Middle East and Russia's invasion of Ukraine will be the top of the agenda. Canada will also face calls to commit to new spending targets just weeks after reaching the current level. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has the latest.
An historic NATO summit now underway in the Netherlands. Prime Minister Mark Carney joining all 32 alliance members in The Hague.
Thank you personally for your...
Meeting with many today for bilateral meetings.
Handshake? Okay, very good.
The summit set to focus on a new defense investment plan aimed at increasing NATO's collective readiness.
And it's important to be clear what we are potentially, and I think likely to all agree tomorrow, which is, and let's take the 5% of GDP figure, which is a big, big number.
That figure would become the new baseline defense spending target. 3.5% would be core defense spending and another 1.5% on defense-related infrastructure investments. The increase would cost Canada tens of billions more a year.
How much is it actually for you?
5% of our GDP would be about $150 billion.
I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot of numbers.
Per year?
Per year.
But a timeline to get to it is the next big question. And Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says it will be an important part of the conversation.
And one of the dates that is being proposed is 2029. And we like to see steps along the way where there can be a re-examination of whether this is the right approach.
But Canada arrives at the summit having only just committed to meet the current 2% target this fiscal year. And some suggest Carney's government has work to do to re-establish Canada's reputation on the issue.
Canada's credibility collectively. And the Canadian reputation that Mr. Carney inherited when he became Prime Minister is far from great on this issue.
An official decision on increasing the alliance's defense spending commitment will come tomorrow, when all 32 member nations sit down for the summit's main meeting, where support for Ukraine is on the agenda too. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, The Hague.
A reminder to start your day in the know with our CTV News Kitchener newsletter. Get the best local content from CTV News straight to your inbox. We've got today's top stories, the latest weather forecast, and some must-see videos. And it's all in one place. Sign up now at ctvnewskitchener.ca. Well, millions for rural development. Still ahead, the provincial government investing support as the sector continues to navigate economic uncertainty.
I'm Krista Simpson. There's been a settlement in a dispute involving the Amazon warehouse in Blair. The project was undercharged more than $13 million in development fees. So how much of that money will the region of Waterloo now be getting? We'll tell you just ahead.
That heat and humidity sticking with us for another day, but there is some relief in sight. We'll break it down in your full forecast.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We go to a dramatic scene unfolding.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVKitchener.ca, your home for news.
The region of Waterloo says it's settled its dispute over development charges involving the Amazon warehouse in Blair. The developer of that project was originally given a 60% discount and billed $9 million instead of nearly $23 million. CTV's Krista Simpson is here now with an update. Krista, we now know the region will get most, though not all, of that amount.
Ashley, Councillor Michael Harris confirms the settlement means the region will be getting close to $18 million in total, so more than 3/4 of what regional staff say the developer should have been billed in the first place. This all started back in summer 2022. The developer was charged $9 million in development fees because it appeared this project qualified for an industrial discount of 60%. However, less than 4 months later, the region discovered Amazon was the tenant, and an Amazon warehouse does not qualify for the industrial discount and should have been charged nearly $23 million in development fees. But by then, the $9 million bill had been paid and building permits issued. The region sent another bill in November for the $13.7 million difference, but the developer declined to pay it, ultimately taking the case to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which sided with the developer, saying that after a development charge has been assessed, collected, and certified, a municipality can't go back later and change the amount. Now, the region was exploring an appeal, but they say they've now settled with the developer, who has agreed to pay more than 75% of the charges. Again, we're told that is around $18 million in total. The decision avoids further costs of litigation. Councillor Michael Harris, the chair of the region's Strategic Planning and Budget Committee, says it was important to pursue the fees once it was realized the project had been undercharged.
This is a big piece of infrastructure here in our community. Everyone needs to pay their fair share. We have expensive capital projects that the region is outlaying significant, millions of dollars for, and development needs to pay for development. So I'm happy with the resolution, and it was a good deal for taxpayers.
Harris also notes that Regional Council will be reviewing the development charge bylaw in the future, likely after the next municipal election. Councillors can then decide if the 60% discount is something they want to continue to offer in the future.
All right. CTV's Krista Simpson, thank you for that update tonight. The provincial government is investing in rural Ontario development. CTV's Scott Miller has more on the funding up for grab and what the money can be used for.
Rural Ontario is getting an infusion of government money to pull from to try and ride out uncertain economic times.
We sometimes feel like we're under the shadow of the GTA and the bigger cities, and we have a lot of residents, a lot of good businesses, and all these things help just promote those and strengthen them.
$20 million will be available over the next 2 years in the newly developed Rural Ontario Development Program. Rural municipalities, along with small businesses, Indigenous communities, and non-profit organizations in rural Ontario can apply starting today. The money can be used for economic development, employee attraction and retention, community infrastructure, and/or business development.
Whether it's a medical clinic in a small community or a business center or a wellness initiative to help people on the streets across Ontario, this type of funding makes a difference, and it builds confidence that there's so much more opportunity to grow.
So $20 million over 2 years doesn't really sound like a whole lot of money. It's not going to fund a new hospital or anything like that, but the idea is that it's going to help kickstart a number of smaller projects. Since 2019, this program and its predecessor have helped fund over 470 projects across rural Ontario.
The Reach Centre here in Clinton is a perfect example. You know, what started out as a regional equine and agricultural center now is home to Fanshawe College. It's home to a local Montessori school. It's home to so much more, and they're looking to grow, and that's exactly what we want to do.
When we built this arena at just shy of $7 million, we got $500,000 in funding, but over a period of a loan, that's a lot of money that you'd be paying out in interest, so every little bit helps.
Rural leaders hope if the government is bombarded with applications, as they expect they will be, it will be a sign that more investments in rural Ontario are warranted.
I'm hoping that if uptake is very strong, that perhaps we'll be seeing more funds in it in another 2 years' time.
In Clinton, Scott Miller, CTV News.
One Roof Youth Services opened a thrift store on King Street in downtown Kitchener today. The Change for Change store is part of One Roof's employment program, which offers 16 to 30-year-olds who are at risk of or are currently experiencing homelessness a chance to gain job experience and earn income. Employees learn different skills to add to their resumes in hopes of pursuing a career after the store.
All geared towards preparing them to have the skills internally to present well in the workforce, as well as to actually gain a job through, resume building and those sorts of things.
I want to get more experience, and I want to connect with people, and I just want to be able to get better at teamwork, at building, and teamwork skills. And so my hope is after this, I will be able to finish my computer programming degree at Algonquin College, and then get a computer programming job in the tech industry.
All sales inside the thrift store go back to One Roof youth programs. Well, hawks are working hard at the region of Waterloo landfill. The birds have been tasked with patrolling the site to keep seagulls away, soaring high or perched on a post. CTV's Karis Mapp has more on the region's flight team.
Clocking in for their daily duties, a trio of hawks sit nearby overseeing operations. Humans work to compact the trash at the region of Waterloo landfill, but for these birds of prey, it's more of a supervising role.
We're here at the landfill 3 days a week, 7 hours a day, and we do the Cambridge site as well on just 2 days a week, 7 hours a day. And yeah, the birds all take turns flying, and then we sit on perches when we're not flying.
Their goal, keeping the seagull population at bay.
They were so thick at the tip face that people would bump into them with the cars and vehicles. They're trying to, as the seagulls would jump up and try and get out of the way, the vehicles couldn't drive slow enough to come and go and avoid seagulls. So we had to do something.
Patrolling the area since 2015, Maggie, Honey, and Stella used their agility and wits to outsmart their prey.
They are a natural predator, so their presence does quite a good job.
I've seen them sneak up, or I've seen them fly around a parked vehicle to try to catch one and stuff like that. So we're not, we're just here to scare them. I'm just here to scare them. The hawks, though, in their mind, they're like, I want to catch those things.
You see it on the Nature Channel all the time, right? And that's very real. It's exactly how you would imagine. It's amazing.
With few seagulls on site, that means a job well done. But come the middle of July until the end of September, it's back to business.
That's when all of the birds that are breeding right now, they bring the young ones to the site. And so those ones haven't yet learned who I am and who my birds are, but they quickly learn that, yes, we are here and we are not leaving.
Rotating their perfect post for the best intimidation possible. With a team made up of 8 birds, including a variety of falcons and hawks, the summer squad is currently hard at work. Harris hawks, also known as wolves of the sky, are native to desert-like environments, making hot days like today the perfect temperature for the birds on duty. The region says having the hawks around is an eco-friendlier option.
The landfill doesn't have a lot of power sources, so we couldn't power any other form of bird control.
Locked in on company time, but also embracing the joys of their gig.
I mean, they're not pets, but they are, I love them. Like, we're partners, they're my co-workers. I spend more time with them than I spend with my family a lot of the times.
Karis Mapp, CTV News, Waterloo.
And taking a look outside downtown Kitchener this night, it is still a hot and steamy one, but how long is this heat wave expected to last? Alex will be back just after this break with more on that. Coming up, the Ford government releasing renderings of what a redeveloped Ontario place could look like. And you might want to wait to fill up the tank. The price of gas is set to drop tomorrow, but by how much? That's coming up.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Welcome back. Well, it's time for your full weather forecast. Of course, Alex is back. And Alex, it's been a pretty hot start to summer, as we all know, but I really want to know, and I'm sure a lot of people at home want to know, how long it's going to last.
Yeah, well, relief is on the way, and not too far. So
okay.
We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, let's take a live look outside this evening. Hot and humid conditions still sticking with us as we take a live look from Kitchener. This is near center in the square. So hot, humid, sticky, whatever word you want to call it. That's pretty much the day we have had today, and that heat warning also staying in place for us. But the good news, it is expected to end soon. But yeah, that's pretty much spread right across southern Ontario still at this point. So yeah, everywhere too. I want to start with that board actually this evening. So that heat warning in place for southern Ontario. Everything in pink is in that heat warning, but also Windsor, Chatham, Kent, Port Stanley, Sarnia, London, also part of that heat warning. But anywhere in the yellow, they are under a thunderstorm watch. London currently under a thunderstorm warning in addition to this. So dangerously hot and humid conditions. And I know Heather mentioned it too a little bit earlier as well. Daytime highs between 30 and 35, but with that humidex feeling like we are in the 40s. So you want to keep an eye out for signs. Nausea, headache, dizziness when it comes to heat-related illnesses. So definitely staying hydrated, limiting your exposure. And of course, we don't want to leave pets or people in vehicles. So current conditions, 31 degrees here in Kitchener-Waterloo. Slightly cooler when you get by the water. So 25 in Goderich, 28 we are seeing in Mount Forest. But then with that humidity, with the humidex feeling closer to 39 here in Waterloo region. Toronto, though, still feeling like it is in the 40s. A little bit hotter than it is here for us at this point. When we look at our futurecast, mainly some cloud cover on and off here in Kitchener-Waterloo, but we are going to see some scattered showers expected as we get into the overnight and into tomorrow, and especially when we look at Thursday, Friday for some areas. That could be a little bit of wet weather, so you might want to keep an umbrella nearby. Around 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, we could see some heavy rainfall at points here in Waterloo region. And once again, too, as we get into Thursday, take a look at all of that rain that is headed our way at this point. So going to keep an eye on that. That is expected for Thursday morning, pretty much for the entire day, right into the evening as well. But hopefully not sticking around for the weekend because we want to see some sunshine, but maybe not the humidity that we saw. Our expected high was 32. We did break that. We did hit 33 degrees around 3 o'clock this afternoon. So another record was broken because the previous record, 32.8, that was set in 2005. Record low, 4.2 degrees. That was in 1979. We gained an extra minute. We mentioned that yesterday as well. So the sun now rising at 5:41 in the morning. So good news if you're an early bird. And that sun setting at 9:07 p.m. Good news for me. By the time I get home and can take the dog out for a walk, it's not too dark. It's still quite enjoyable. So overnight conditions, 19 degrees, partly cloudy conditions. So getting a bit more comfortable. That's where we're going to start to feel a little bit of that relief from this heat. Then tomorrow, 29 with that 30% chance of showers. So that's going to start right through until Thursday, as we can see. So that's when a bit more of that active weather is going to start rolling in. 60% chance of showers for your Thursday and Friday Waterloo region, but a little bit more comfortable in terms of condition-wise, not as hot and not as humid. as we saw the last couple days. Lambton, Kent, and Essex, similar conditions in terms of that wet weather on the way. But take a look at Friday, going to be 30 degrees, so another hot one for you there. And then southern Georgian Bay, again, mainly sunny conditions for your for 26 degrees is a high for Wednesday. And then again, more showers expected, but at least we're bringing a little bit of relief from the heat we are seeing. And here's tonight's Weather Watcher picture. Paul Richards sending us this beautiful shot saying, here's a coolish place to watch the morning South Georgian Bay sunrise. Shade from a maple tree and a lake breeze help to take the bite out of the early morning heat and humidity, sort of. We said sort of, so yeah, beautiful, beautiful shot. Not a bad way to start the day. And just a reminder too, if you get a good shot, send it to us, ckcoweather@bellmedia.ca, or you can text us as well, 10400, because we love to get those Weather Watcher pictures.
Absolutely, keep sending them in. And I mean, even that picture, it still looked hot, even though it was first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I think cool-ish was the word being used. So
absolutely.
Still a warm one.
Still a warm one. Well, thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the Ford government today releasing new renderings of what a redeveloped Ontario place could look like. It's a project that's been plagued by controversy, and tonight there's still no shortage of opinions about an updated plan. CTV's Siobhan Morris has the details.
It's very much a work in progress, a tangle of fences and construction workers on the edge of Lake Ontario. But unveiling new renderings of a revamped Ontario place, the Premier is dreaming big.
Enjoy stunning beaches and wetlands, canoeing, boating, kayaking along our beautiful waters, and taking in concerts, markets, and festivals. This is going to be spectacular.
The complex includes 50 acres of public space, including trails, marinas, and beaches. There's a year-round concert venue, the controversial private spa and water park, and new plans for a 3,500-spot, 5-story parking garage on the edge of Lake Ontario. Doug Ford insists it will be blended into the environment.
Well, it's going to be beautiful. We're going to have a berm at the front. You'll barely even see a parking lot.
With plans to add a fountain, some Instagrammable signs.
You watch, it's going to be probably the #1 place where people will take pictures.
The bill, $400 million, but Ford insists it will generate $60 million a year for the province.
That will be going right into Ontario coffers to pay for health care, education, infrastructure.
His goal here is to make money off the backs of the people of Ontario to access their own parkland.
While there had been talk about moving the lot across the street, the Premier says this location is more convenient.
It's going to block views of this project from the lakeshore and from the city and sort of cut it off.
Guaranteed parking, a contractual agreement with Therme Canada, the company building the spa at Ontario Place. A spokesperson says now there's parking scattered all over.
All this is a way of consolidating them to create more space for green parks and beaches and free places for people to visit.
Therme's updated plans will be released next month. This master plan doesn't include imaginings of the new Science Centre planned for Ontario Place, a year after its home at Don Mills in Eglinton was abruptly closed.
We're in the market to find the appropriate builder for the Science Centre currently right now today. We anticipate to have results in the fall.
The government has insisted the Science Centre will have more exhibit space, even though the footprint will be half the size.
That's Siobhan Morris reporting. All right, a sweet summer edition for your palate. Still to come on CTV News, a farm in Paris is growing a berry not commonly consumed in Ontario, but you have to act fast with a quick harvesting season. Those details ahead. The annual pace of inflation held steady at 1.7% last month. The removal of the consumer carbon price continues to drive down prices at the pumps, but groceries prices rose 3.3% annually in May. Stats Canada says slower increases in shelter costs like rent and mortgages were a big factor in keeping inflation lower. Ontario saw some rent relief from slower population growth and a jump in new supply compared to last spring. The Bank of Canada will make its next interest rate decision on July 30th. Meanwhile, gas prices are set to drop first thing tomorrow morning. The average prices for a liter of regular gas is expected to drop by 5 cents on Wednesday. The cost of diesel is also set to drop between 6 and 8 cents. And also the price of gas isn't an issue for this next vehicle. It's a zero-emission electric car and perhaps the biggest feature. It's been made in nearly all Canadian components. CTV's Sean Leathon got a closer look at the design, which is hoped to help drive the auto industry on this side of the border.
Rolling into the era of a Canadian car company, this zero-emissions EV prototype is called Project Arrow, and 97% of the materials used to build it come from Canada.
At a time when everybody was looking to make major investments in EVs, we wanted to make a statement that Canada can do the whole thing for you.
The vehicle was first revealed at the 2023 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, a joint venture between the Auto Parts Manufacturers Association along with Carleton University and Ontario Tech University, with engineering students helping to assemble the vehicle.
We have everything it takes, so this is physical proof that we can do it. So we're trying to gain the exposure and show people that this is the proof, this is the drivable business card.
Project Arrow has been around the world, driving business to Canada. According to the APMA, the $20 million price tag to develop the project has resulted in $5 million in investment in Canada's auto industry. Now they're moving to Project Arrow 2.0, creating a fleet of electric vehicles.
We're in a moment now where we're talking about building a resilient Canadian economy while it's under attack by the guy in the White House. And the Prime Minister's challenged everybody to be ambitious. Well, there's nothing more ambitious than launching a Canadian car company.
Federal Economic Development Minister for Southern Ontario, Evan Solomon, got a chance to see the car for himself.
This is about showcasing the capabilities of an industry that is a world-leading industry, contributes to our economy, contributes to the entire value chain of the automotive manufacturing.
For Project Arrow 2.0, they'll build 2 vehicles a year for the next 3 years, with the hope of showing investors and government that Canada can have its own car company.
In Canada, I think that what we want to say thoughtfully and responsibly is let's bring the best minds in Canada together to see if this is something we should and could do.
As for when this vehicle could actually be in production, Flavio Volpe says if the right people are in place, it'll take about 5 years. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
All right, time for an update to our top story. CTV's Krista Simpson joining us in studio tonight. Now, Krista, you have the latest on how we can keep ourselves safe during this heat.
Well, Ashley, Region of Waterloo paramedics say they are receiving more calls about heat-related illnesses during this heat wave. So they're reminding people to avoid the outdoors if you can, but if you can't, stay in the shade, take breaks, and stay hydrated. People with underlying health issues, infants, and the elderly can be most at risk. Police in Stratford are investigating another jewelry store robbery. This happened on Sunday. The thieves smashed glass cases and stole items from Paris Jewelers inside Stratford Mall. Police say 4 people fled in a stolen Honda Accord. Officers tried to follow the vehicle but stopped pursuing it in the Shakespeare area due to safety concerns.
And our online team has a story about online scam impacting local residents.
An 80-year-old man, Ashley, is out more than $15,000 after Guelph police say he fell for a deep fake scam. The victim reportedly clicked on a Facebook ad that appeared to show Premier Doug Ford recommending a mutual fund account. Police using this as a reminder of how sophisticated these scams can be. For more information, you can scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen to get the story on our CTV News app or to download the app right now. You can also visit our website, ctvnewskitchener.ca. Ashley.
All right, Krista Simpson joining us in studio for those updates. Thank you. All right, berry season is in full swing here in Southern Ontario, and while you may be familiar with strawberries and blueberries, one farm in Paris has branched out beyond the typical bushel. CTV's Alexandra Hollick has the scoop on the Haskap berry.
This one here is the beauty.
Beauties.
And these are the beast.
Though they may sound like they're straight out of a fairy tale, at Blue Gables Acres, Haskap berries are the real deal.
Blueberries on steroids.
Haskap berries may look similar to blueberries, but the small, sweet and sour treat is very different. Though I can tell you from first-hand experience, of course, it won't leave a bad taste in your mouth.
I think it tastes a lot like you smashed a raspberry, blueberry, and a blackberry together. And no seeds.
Kimmy and Delano Osmond began planting bushes of Haskaps back in 2017, turning their 5 acres of farmland into a growing business.
As we could afford, we planted, and so it has been from the beginning, just grassroots, seeing if this would work.
But a short harvest season can sometimes make for slim pickings.
We're looking at more like a 2-week-ish window, a little bit more than 2 weeks.
Because we handpick, that makes it more challenging for us. But we chose to do that to just try and make sure that we get the best quality of fruit that we can.
Out in the field, berry pickers brave the heat and gather the best of the bunch.
When you're picking on the bushes, you're looking for the ones that are mostly blue. You want to leave the green and red ones. Size doesn't really matter, just as long as they're mostly blue.
From planting in the fields to weeding to watering and to picking the berries all the way to the end stage.
Once they're picked, they're separated and sorted.
We've been turning them into wine. We do frozen, so we freeze them in 1-pound bags if people want them throughout the year for smoothies, for bakeries. We do a lot of jams.
While customers can't pick their own berries, they can pick from a variety of products at the farm or at the Brantford Farmers Market. Alexandra Hollick, CTV News, near Paris, Ontario.
Resurrected and returning. Still to come on CTV News, the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony Orchestra is set to hit the stage again. Details on when and where still ahead. Well, it's been a long road back for the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony. They declared bankruptcy nearly 2 years ago, cutting the season short and disbanding its board of directors. A new board was later elected. The bankruptcy was eventually annulled, and they've worked to rebuild the organization ever since. And tonight, they're announcing a return for the 2025-26 season. Let's go to CTV's Spencer Turcott, who joins us from Centre in the Square. And Spencer, that's where the season launch event is underway.
Well, being back in the Symphony's home really highlights the hard work of the last couple of years, which saw the orchestra playing packed churches, never giving up on the idea of possibly returning here.
This is the home of the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony. This hall was built for the orchestra. It was designed around the orchestra. I mean, in a very literal sense, we are coming home. And so we've augmented our program quite a bit from last year.
Jamie Somerville was previously a soloist and conductor with the Symphony, but with this full return, he takes on a new role as artistic advisor. So he's had his hands in working with the musicians and the board to plan this upcoming season. Many members of the Symphony have told us it feels like Christmas Day. Past subscribers and friends of the Symphony are here for the invite-only launch event to learn about the number of concerts, the venues, and all the programming people can expect.
I think what's really going to bring it home is the first concert that we play here in the center, which is the Mahler Second Symphony, the Resurrection Symphony. It was actually the first piece that was ever played in this space by the orchestra. We're trying out a few different days. I mean, you know, forever and ever, it was like, you know, Hockey Night in Canada was always Wednesdays and Saturdays, and now it's kind of all over.
So again, quite the underdog story here, with the odds clearly stacked against the Symphony the last couple of years, but everyone involved says this makes that return that much sweeter, and they're here to stay. Ashley.
Okay, CTV's Spencer Turcott from Centre in the Square. Thank you, Spencer. Well, more news ahead. First, here's Alex.
Well, that heat warning still in place for much of southern Ontario at this point, but relief is near. We'll take a peek at your wake-up weather coming up. Plenty of entertainment for your Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock. Join us for E-Talk, then back-to-back episodes of The Big Bang Theory before The Rookie.
Hi there, I'm Angie Hill.
And I'm Sarge from Bounce Mornings with Angie and Sarge.
Bounce 99.5 and CTV Kitchener have joined forces to send you to see Coldplay at Rogers Stadium.
Ah, yes, the Music of the Spheres tour, which is coming up July 7th. Today's keyword is
clocks.
Enter it now at ctvkitchener.ca for your chance to win.
All right, CTV's Krista Simpson is back with a look at what our team is following later tonight. Krista.
Ashley, we'll have more details on the return of the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony. Tonight at 11:30, Spencer Turcott will tell us what to expect for the upcoming season. Also tonight, a former church in Waterloo will not become a new hub for creativity. Some residents wanted St. Columba Anglican Church to be used as a temporary art space, but councillors have voted against that plan. We'll tell you why tonight. Ashley.
All right, Krista, thank you for that update. And now with Alex, looking at weather for tomorrow. You know, you mentioned there's some rain on the way, but what will it look like when we wake up?
Yeah, not too bad, especially with that heat warning tonight ending, especially as we get into the overnight hours. So finally a little bit of relief from that heat. So by 6 o'clock in the morning, it'll still be warm, 21 degrees, mix of sun and clouds, similar conditions sticking with us for 8 o'clock. And then by 10, we should be hitting about 25. So still quite warm, but again, we're not going to be under that heat warning we've seen. So hopefully we can breathe a little bit easier.
I'd say it's being toasty, but you know,
a little bit.
With this weather and with spring and now into summer, animals like to come out to play. And then traffic was brought to a standstill in Burnaby, BC on the weekend when 2 black bears got into a disagreement on a residential street. Oh my, the animals seem to ignore vehicles on the street as they wrestled each other for about an hour. Fights like this are not uncommon, but don't typically happen in front of humans.
An hour? Oh my gosh. So everyone, of course, waiting very patiently from a distance until the brawl was done. Eventually, the bears wandered back into the woods. Could you imagine just being there in that vehicle witnessing this? Because that's quite incredible.
It would be incredible. And you know what? I'm that person that I would probably just stop and watch for that whole hour. I like kind of nature shows.
The bears seem okay too. They're just having a, slight disagreement.
Absolutely. Well, that is our time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, you can check out our CTV News app anytime. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Take care.